Hi, I'm Krista Perry, and joining me is Brian Doyle from Doyle Salewski, licensed trustees in insolvency and restructuring. And Brian, bankruptcy, big, bad, scary word. What is involved with a bankruptcy? What is it?
It's not nearly as scary as people fear. In fact, a lot of people come back to us and say, geez, that was easy. Well, it's easy for those who bankruptcy was meant for. In other words, it's there to bail out people who've had an unfortunate situation, right? And you can't pay back your debts. And of course, you can't do a proposal for one reason or another. Maybe your income is not enough, or maybe you're a senior and you don't have that many years available of an income. So when bankruptcy is the alternative, though, it is a great release because it takes that great monkey off your back. All that debt that's pressuring you, which is forcing you into a lifestyle that you obviously don't enjoy. Absolutely. And your family. I mean, we've got young adults having to declare bankruptcy. That's unfortunate, but thank goodness there is the legislation which allows people who get themselves into a situation to seek relief.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people think that once you declare bankruptcy, you'll never get credit again. You won't get a credit card. You'll never own a home. You'll have everything you own taken away from you. You'll have to sell your car. You'd have to sell any assets that you have. That's just not the situation with a bankruptcy, is it?
Right. Those are really good points because, first of all, the vast majority of our clients keep their cars and keep their houses. First, we have to assess whether that's reasonable, but housing costs are there and people have to live, and it's people will, as I said, in the vast majority of cases, retain their residences and their cars. We look at their budgets, we look at what they've got, and it's not the purpose of a trustee in insolvency and restructuring to say, okay, we've got to sell the house. If we can afford to keep the house, we do everything we can to keep that individual and the family in the house. So, and there are exemptions. First of all, you keep all your personal clothing, your furniture. Tools of trade are exempt up to $10,000. Your car is exempt up to $6,000. And then if your car is worth more than that, we let you buy it back over a period of time. So there's ways we work with people so they can keep their reasonable lifestyle. They must keep their employment. They must be able to get to and from their job. They must be able to feed their family. All this has to be taken into account.
Some people get into debt, but they also have some assets, like maybe an RRSP. What happens with something like that you've saved for your retirement?
Well, thank goodness RRSPs are now exempt. Prior to 2009, they were not, which was quite unjust because those with lucrative pensions got to keep their pensions, but people with RRSPs had to give them up. But now they're exempt and one can keep one's RRSP. The only thing that has to go back is any payments made within the last 12 months prior to bankruptcy. So people still can keep their nest eggs.
So if somebody files for bankruptcy, you've sat down obviously with Doyle Salewski and determined that that is the best course of action for you specifically. How long are you going to be in a bankruptcy for, and is it going to affect your credit for the rest of your life?
Well, the term of a bankruptcy can be as little as 9 months. It could be up to 36 months, depending on your circumstances. The vast majority of people are only in for 9 months. And will it affect your credit rating? Well, it's on your credit report, but it is discharged from your credit report 6 years after you finish with the bankruptcy. So it does come off. And it doesn't mean you can't get credit. It depends on the credit grantor and what you're seeking to do. We often refer people to secured credit card companies to rebuild their credit during the course of their bankruptcy. And there are companies that will let you buy a car and will maybe even finance your house for you. Mind you, the rates are higher, but that's what is called risk capital, and you have to play that game. Mm-hmm. But people rebuild their credit lives. It happens all the time.
And what's great with Doyle Salewski is if you do a proposal or you do a bankruptcy, you guys can help out with the after. And what I mean by that is dealing with the problems that maybe have led you to a bankruptcy, like an addiction or just bad financial management. You guys help with that as well. It's a whole process that deals specifically with you as an individual.
Some of these situations, especially family situations, are very difficult, though, to manage. If you're the breadwinner, you've got competing factions within the family socioeconomic unit for the resources, right? The kids want Nike shoes, and they all want cell phones. They want the mom and dad to pay for them. Everybody is different, but by and large, if you're dealing with a family, for example, they've got to learn to live within their means. People have to learn not to be indulgent with their children necessarily, and I am not one to talk about that for sure. But very social issues sometimes. It's not as lean and mean as saying, okay, you're addicted to alcohol, you got this, you got that. These are tough times. There's such a pressure on the family unit these days, even on individuals. A single individual is, I'm sure, finding it very hard to live these days. I mean, that's why I guess many people live together. I mean, the cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of, and here's my pet peeve, hydro, and as I earlier said, the cost of food. I mean, it's all going up dramatically, and it's so hard to make ends meet.
How can somebody get in touch with you if they would like to discuss a possible bankruptcy?
Well, they've got to come in and speak to one of our trained professionals, and it's going to take an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, with all the information and lay it out in an objective manner. We have to see the facts for what they are. We want to see the whole picture. And then one of our trained professionals can lay this out and make the recommendation as to the best way to treat this. And it could be simply rebudgeting. It could be drawing a tight line for a number of months. It could be refinancing the house. But we can see our way through it. Now, we may have to recommend something such as a consumer proposal, but you know, we'll deal with it.
And for more information, you can call Doyle Salewski at 613-237-5555. Email them at info@doylesalewski.ca or visit their website, doylesalewski.ca.